start the early AM with my pretty face. I'm your host, Jason, and this is Good Morning Sri Lanka. Today, I was thinking about talking about something different. We have an organization here called the Habitat for Humanity on the show, and we have 3 members. They're about to tell me more about this great cause that they've all been fighting for. I know, I made that sound so nice. All right, so our 3 members, of course, is Dinesh Kanagaratnam. Good morning to you, who is the National Director for the Habitat of Humanity here. So good morning to you.
Good morning.
And we have Lala Balgalawar. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Such a pro at pronouncing names. I'm so happy. Yeah. And then, of course, Ramesh Shafter, who is the board chairman.
Good morning.
Good morning. And Lala, you're here from the Asia Pacific office.
Pacific office.
What made you come to Sri Lanka?
Well, there is.
I know, because I was interviewing, of course, but yeah.
Yeah, so there is this World Conference, World Youth Conference that is going on in Sri Lanka right now, and we are organizing one of the parallel sessions on that, where we would be focusing on empowering the youth and what youth can do to impact poverty housing.
Right. So tell me about what is the Habitat for Humanity International? What is this all about?
So Habitat for Humanity is a global not-for-profit housing organization. Right. We bring in people together from different walks of life, different race, different religion, to work towards making a world where everyone has a decent place to live.
Yeah. All right. So Ramesh, tell me, how many people does the Habitat for Humanity help each year?
Well, we've helped 18,000 families in Sri Lanka so far since we started in 1995. And right now we're trying to up that game. We're trying to target 2,000 houses a year over the next 5 years. So we're looking at 15,000 houses over the next 5 years.
Right. So now, Dinesh, you've been functioning for a while.
Yes.
Right. So when you came on board, how was it like working here in Sri Lanka?
Actually, I took over the operation from 1st of January this year.
Oh, wow. Newbie. Just wanted to let people know that. Newbie. Okay. You were saying?
So I commenced operation from 1st of January this year.
Okay.
And I'm planning to expand, as Ramesh said, from moving from 1,000 at present we serve about 1,000 houses per year. So we need to increase 2,000 houses per year, where we could reach about 15,000 houses within the next 5 to 7 years. We are looking at, by 2020, we should reach 15,000 houses.
Brilliant. Wow, that's sounding so interesting. All right, so Lala, tell me, I understand there's a lot of programs that you have your hands in. Everyone has their hands in. So what are these programs all about?
Well, I think the major program that we are embarking on is really on providing decent shelter to those families who cannot afford to have one. Right. There are a lot of those millions of them in Asia Pacific alone. Okay. So what we do is mainly focusing on programs related to housing. Right. So we provide or we do programs for disaster response, where we build houses for those people who are affected by disaster response, just like the tsunami that happened.
Of course, yeah.
Right. Also, that was one of the major programs that we embarked on in Asia Pacific, where we were able to help about 25,000 families all over those countries that were affected by this tsunami. Another program that we do is on providing technical assistance to families, because we do not just give out housing. We also make sure that they are able, or we give them assistance on how they would be designing the house. Maybe Dinesh could also give us more ideas on how they implement it in Sri Lanka. But in that case, what we do is just focusing on housing.
Right. All right, Dinesh, now speaking about what the houses would look like for the people that can't afford it or who are struck by unfortunate disasters, how would these houses look like? Would it have the general things that you have in a regular house, like a bathroom and a toilet and
actually these houses are generally if it's a disaster case, it will be sort of a relief, immediate relief. So then in that case, we won't go for bigger houses. It's sort of a immediate need.
So it's temporary
shelters. That's right. But when you come to permanent houses, now at the moment we are in post-conflict, we are talking about after 5 years of war. So at present we are looking at 550 square foot area house. So it's fairly with one lockable room, we call it, where you can lock one room. And also the house will be a lockable house where you have a main door and which could be locked. But this is sort of a 550 square foot house area. But then we provide this basic house without external plastering and internal plastering. Maybe we plaster only the front portion. But if the people want it, then they can do the plastering with the extra cost, and then they need to get involved in unskilled labor as well, where they try to do their own plastering.
So they could, pimp out their own house.
Yes.
If you mind me saying that. All right. So Ramesh, now the houses, where are these located? Like, let's get into the disaster response side of things. For example, if their house is located in a beach area, where would you relocate them, or would you just build a house in that same place?
No, a tsunami was just a one-off. In some ways it was unexpected, but most of the damage naturally was along the coast. So they were relocated to zones, lands provided very often by the state for relocation. They were not allowed to build where they were right on the beach. They brought in rules with zoning and the distance you had to have from the shore. We also deal occasionally with disasters such as floods. And there we would do very temporary housing. Even with tsunami, though it was disaster relief, it was permanent housing in most cases. But with a flood, it's just an immediate shelter. So it could be just a short-term thing. It could be something that lasts 6 months until they can get their regular housing back in order.
Brilliant. All right. So I understand this something called non-profit housing. How does that work for the Habitat of Humanity?
I don't get to take any money home.
Well, that's something I'd like to be involved in.
We don't make a profit, because essentially we do some degree of charity housing.
Of course.
Then we do other programs which would help people to save and build their own house. And essentially Habitat contributes technical know-how and such things that would bring down the cost of you building your own house.
So if you don't mind me asking, how is this funded? Is it usually just regular donations from
funding comes in many forms. We have financing which comes from donors overseas. We have corporate partnerships that work locally as well as international corporate partnerships. Some of them work very well, where it's not just building houses, it's corporate training where their staff go on team building trips, help to build houses. Greatly satisfying, builds the team because they're working together for a week building a house. It's a whole range of arrangements that we have.
Now, Ramesh, Dinesh, you were mentioning that if they wanted, they could add on to the houses that you have built for them. I understand there's something called sweat equity.
Yes.
What does this mean?
Actually, they have to provide unskilled labor. For example, if we can provide something to a particular family.
Of course.
So it can be a sort of a full house, or maybe a sort of we call it an incremental house, where you can add a room, or maybe they can have a roof above the house. But where the family members has to work unskilled labor, it can be mixing of cement, or where they could pass the bricks. They get involved in sort of unskilled labor, but we provide the labor, where the masons and the carpenters we provide, but sweat equity is where they provide the unskilled labor. So it will bring down the cost of the house, because unskilled labor they provide.
Now this organization is, I would say, 80% run by volunteers, if I'm correct?
80. I wouldn't say that. That 80% is run. 80% is run by volunteers, but when we build houses, we would always seek volunteers to help us bring down the cost of labor. And it's also a tangible project for them to get involved with and make sure that they're giving back to the community. So one major aspect of how Habitat works in helping people who does not have a home is bringing in volunteers and bringing in the support of people from all races, all religion, all educational background. So that's really our how we do the work.
Let's just paint a scenario here. Say I'm a good Samaritan. I might be. I am. I really am. And I would
you
like
should
to,
be.
I am. And I would like to get involved in the Habitat of Humanity. How does this work? Usually, what is the case scenario here?
I would suggest Sri Lanka to answer that, because there are more specific
we have lots of work for you. How many days a week?
Or why don't you come
Finish
with
the
us?
morning show and report to Habitat.
Probably. That could work.
No, what we typically do is we set up projects for volunteers to go to. So, for example, a group of university students would say, this is our vacation, we can spare a week. We would set up a project where they could go and build. And we've had that in the recent past. We had some university students. We can have a school maybe the senior students want to contribute something to society, so they would go.
Okay.
It's an experience. It bonds them together, because this whole effort of building a house is a team building exercise.
Of course.
It makes the team closer as well.
Right.
So schools have done it. Corporates have done it with their own management teams and sometimes with departments. So there's a whole host of methods in which you could participate.
Okay.
So it's not, in addition to that, it's not only the labor that we want. We would also want to encourage people to give back to the society by leveraging on their capacity, leveraging on their creativity and their technical know-how. So like, for example, you are in the media. You could always support us by being one. By hosting us here. It's a good way to support. Or you could always further your engagement with Habitat Sri Lanka by being an ambassador, for example.
Right.
And there are a lot of celebrities who are supporting us, who are bringing the brand of Habitat, increase the brand awareness of Habitat, and also make sure that we have a lot of people, a lot of volunteers, a lot of funders who would be supporting us.
Great. Speaking of ambassadors, coming up after this break, we have Uttara Gunawardena, who happens to be a face for Habitat Humanity and Sri Lanka.